So good morning everybody, out with RB and we are ride testing this today, the Battalion Green Lexmoto Michigan Euro 5 125cc. So just a quick look around the bike, exactly the same as what the old Michigan was. Obviously this one is now Euro 5, combined braking on this, LED indicators, a bulbed headlight to it, and it has those footboards rather than pegs, so you've got a nice comfortable foot position. You've got all in matte black, and just looking around the rear of the bike, just look at the profile from the rear. That does look a very, very nice bike. Nice low tail height, and what they have done, they have sorted out the number plate so it comes level with the bar, finally. A lot of issues with the Euro 4, people throwing the legs over and kept catching the number plate. They've now lowered that bracket, so the number plate now lines up nicely with the back of that pillion grab rail. So we're going to get this one out, and just to show you a couple of things, obviously slightly different, no ignition key up the top. The ignition key is just positioned down here, and your steering lock is on the bottom of the front yoke. So slightly different with the ignition key on that one compared to most of the bikes that have their key slot up the top. This has a side stand and a main stand, and it does start on the side stand, but obviously once you put it in gear, that side stand switch will kill the bike. Firing it up on the button, no throttle whatsoever, and it ticks over lovely. And the one thing I do love, speedometer, fuel gauge, and you've got your gear indicators at the bottom, so neutral, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got a 5-speed box on this, bar position lovely and high, and just look how wide these mirrors are. I've got 100% view of those nice wide mirrors. So we're going to get this one out into traffic. We're going to go and have a ride test. This is the first ride test for the customer of this one that purchased it last Saturday. It's gone through all the PDIs, sailed its PDIs as it would. And for those of you who've just obviously watched the start of the video, oh, it's not got a number plate on it. No, it hasn't, because my trade plate is in the pocket on my back, on the back of my jacket. So when I'm out test riding a brand new bike, and for the purposes of video, we don't normally show a person's number plate, so this one's not had the number plate put on until I finish the ride test. And then obviously on future videos we tend to stay at the front of the bike, so we're not showing off the customer's number plate. Little thing called cloning, and it's very, very easy. Watch a load of videos, get a reg, that's a so-and-so bike, or that is an Audi, or that's a BMW, I'm going to clone their number plate. So a big thing, that is why we don't show the number plates, or we don't have number plates on the bikes. But for ride test purposes, I have an insurance trade plate, which is a red and white plate that you get if you were a trade dealer, in the back of my jacket, and it's just nice and comfortable there. Plus it tends to be a bit like body armour. If I do go down, I've got a trade plate to protect my back, and I did have that trade plate on when I went down, and I didn't break it, thank God for that. So dual carriageway, if you saw the video the other day as well, they have re-tarmacked the road. Hooray, no more potholes. And obviously this is the main route through Milton Keynes from one side to the other, known as the A5D. If you happen to live in Milton Keynes, everybody knows about the A5D. And it's a great bit of road for test riding, especially if you've got a big bike, because it's just, I believe, about 12 to 14 miles of just straight dual carriageway. And if you're doing it early in the morning, you can't half knock up some speed going down here on a big bike. Not that I'd say to go over the limit, but if you've seen my previous videos, you know I do tend to have a little brap down here. But sitting this Michigan around about 44 mile an hour, just for the purposes of ride testing. 5th gear, nice gear indicator down there telling me I'm in 5th. And the fuel gauge, and we have 2 miles on the bike, so about another 10 to add on to it. Further test rides to come up. Lever position is absolutely spot on, the bar position is perfect, and with those feet boards or footboards, my legs are nice and forward, cruiser style, and very, very comfortable. I am bolt upright, no bad back for me today. And a lot of people said, what do you prefer, the cruisers or the sports bikes when you ride? I was a big sports bike lover, and wasn't much of a cruiser lover. I liked the look of the Harley, but it felt, after having 40 years over a tank, it felt so unnatural to be sat bolt upright and leant back that, do you know what, I actually prefer being on a bolt upright bike. I still do like my sports bikes, but I do like being bolt upright now, and it is a lot more comfortable on a longer run. If you are knocking up the miles on a daily basis, an upright bike is going to be more suited to you. Hence why a lot of people go for obviously the cruisers or the nakeds than a sports bike. A sports bike bent over a tank, it will give you a sore back if you're doing miles. It will give you sore wrists because all the pressure of leaning forward is on your wrists, and with your legs crunched up you will end up with sore knees and sore thighs. But it's the fun of being on a sports bike. But for mileage, cruiser or an upright bike is going to be the one every time. As I said on a couple of other videos, running in, and I'm going to keep hammering on about it on every video we do, you must run your bike in. If you're going to take it straight out the box and take it straight up to 60 mile an hour, you're not going to do the engine any good. It's a new bike, treat it with respect, run the thing in. Hence why all my videos you will see are at 40 to 45 mile an hour. It's a customer's bike, take your time with it, be gentle with it, treat it as if it was gold dust, which is what we do. Now obviously there's not many dealers that do ride tests. A lot of dealers will just chuck a mechanic on a bike or chuck a technician on a bike, right, go and get some miles on it. You don't know what speed they're riding it at, how they're throwing the bike around, or how many miles they're doing until you obviously get to pick the bike up and you're like, well, I've only got 3 miles on my bike. Yeah, quick blast around the block, mate. So we'd always say, check out the history, check out the dealer, ask them if they're doing it, do they record any ride tests. A lot of them won't, and obviously that is individual preference. We do it just for the simple reason that it's customer satisfaction. At the end of the day, the old thing of customer satisfaction has gone out the window. It's about how many bikes can you churn out, how much money can you make. It's all about profit these days. Yes, it's nice to make a lot of profit, but it's nice to also make sure that the customer is getting 100% satisfaction. When he's spent a couple of grand or 2 or 3 grand on a bike, he knows he's getting a perfect item. Now the warranties on these has changed. So the old service schedule, and that is ingrained in my brain unfortunately, used to be 500 kilometers, 311 miles first service, second service at 932, 1500 kilometers, and then 3000 kilometers, 2485 miles. That has all changed. Throw it all out the window, people. Forget about it. Disregard that. The new service schedule on bikes now is all in miles, and it is 500 or 3 months. If you haven't done 500 miles in your first 3 months, then get it in after 3 months, and you must stick to that. So 500 miles, 3 months, first service. Second service then is the same thing again, 3000 miles, and I believe it is 1 year, but the next one is 3000 miles. So when you get your paperwork from the dealer, and you should receive a Lexmoto pack with every bike and a second key in a little black folder, then what you need to do is check your service schedules. That is very, very imperative that you do check all your schedules, just to make sure that you're not going to run the bike out of warranty by missing a service and not damaging the bike. Now the warranty is 2 years as always, but you can now, if you decide to obviously go and do a mod 1, mod 2 and upgrade your bike and go up to the next stage, if you do sell the bike under 2 years, that remainder of the warranty can now be handed over to a second owner. So you can take your warranty now and transfer the bike and the warranty to a new owner, which is one thing that the old warranty did not do. So happy days for everybody now, which means if you sell a bike with warranty, you can get a little bit more money for it on the second-hand market. Now that is with Lexmotos. I don't know how other dealers still do it. I know with Kawasaki it doesn't transfer over. Warranty stays with the first owner, unless they've absolutely hammered home loads of services, and then they normally go, well, okay, we'll take a little bit, or we'll do this for you. So check out, obviously, if you're buying a bike of a different brand and it's a new one, how your warranty carries over if you do sell the bike. A lot of people don't, they stick with their bikes. So 7 miles on the bike. Bike is running absolutely superbly, sitting up to 44 mile an hour. And how can I tell that? Because it's exactly 1 o'clock on the speedo. Very, very easy. Just to remember the needle positions when you're doing riding. So 30 is bang on 11 o'clock, 40 is half 12, 50 is 2 o'clock. So all you got to remember is 11, I'd say normally 11:12. That's easy to remember. If you're running around town, stick to 11 o'clock. If you're out on the road, stick to 2 o'clock. And it's easier than actually looking down trying to look for a number. Just look for your needle position. Now if you had a digital dash, obviously a little bit easier to just look down, glance, yeah, I'm doing this amount of miles. But riding absolutely perfectly, and all the controls are very, very easy to get to on these Michigans, which is why the Michigan is one of the big sellers at the moment. And I have been told there are a couple more bikes coming in the next month, new ones from Lexmoto. What have we got coming next? I don't even know yet. Had a flyer the other day, a couple more new bikes coming from Lexmoto. Ooh, and I've got an inkling of what they're going to be, but I am not going to put my finger on it and get it wrong. So I'm going to say just wait and watch this space, but there are a couple more bikes coming from Lexmoto. Now obviously after we sold the Lonsin Vogue, I've been following a lot of stuff that Lonsin do. It's a very, very good bike brand, obviously marketed out by Lexmoto, but it is the Lonsin brand. And I did title up the first one, I did say it was a Lexmoto Vogue. It was it's marketed by Lexmoto, sold by Lexmoto, warranted by Lexmoto, but the company that actually made them are called Lonsin 500. And I have been looking at the new one they've got out. They've got a 650 coming out, and it does look very, very nice. Whether it gets marketed by Lexmoto, I don't know yet, but the Lonsin name is very, very big all across Asia. And I've been chatting with an Asian Motovlogger. We've been using the translator to chat to each other, because obviously he speaks no Indian, he speaks no English, I speak no Indian or Asian, but we've been using translator to chat to each other. And one of his videos, obviously I said to him, I said, you have a 500 DS. Yes, I've owned it for about 9 months, and I go from one side of India to the other side of India, and I do about 50 miles a day. Well, that's not bad, about an hour's drive. And he said, try 2.5. Why is that? He said, because it is all dirt roads. Roads out in India where he lives, it's all dirt roads and country roads. It's literally like going off-road on a motocross course, if you compare it to England. But he does that on a daily basis, 40 there and 40 home. And he normally rides about 30-35 mile an hour on the old roads, and then obviously once he gets onto the main roads, he does open it up a little bit. But his Lonsin Vogue is absolutely lovely, and I think he's just short of about 350,000 views on that Lonsin Vogue. So final bit of mileage, we're 10 miles in. We're going to do the hill climb, just to see what it is like going up a hill in 5th gear, and lock the throttle off. So I'm going to hold the throttle position, and we're going to get it up to about 40 mile an hour, and There we go, and I'm just going to hold that throttle in exactly the same position. So I'm just going to keep the same speed going and just see how much power I lose climbing a hill. So bang on 42, throttle's nicely locked with my finger holding it on the front brake lever just to steady my finger, and just see if I do scrub off any speed. And I'm expecting to drop a couple of miles on this going up the hill. So this is the first part of the hill, as we'd always do, and then it gradually gets steeper and steeper as we climb the Brickhill Hill, and just see if any speed starts to scrub off just by holding the throttle. There we go, and it's starting to scrub slowly, dropping back as you'd expect, and I've still got the same throttle position on the bike. And this is the very, very steep part now. Still climbing, and I've scrubbed off about 2 miles an hour. There we go, we're dropping to about 40, and I had it held at 42. So it's dropping about 2 miles an hour. Now someone did, on one of my videos, compare this to the Keyway Superlight. Ooh, yeah, okay. And we used to sell the Keyway Superlights. Do I like them? Yes, they do look nice with all their, especially if you've got the special edition version with the leather panniers all studded up, and all the decals on the tank, and all the bits and pieces, all the frills. But compared to this, it was very, very underpowered. Keyway Superlight was very, very underpowered, very, very heavy, very cumbersome, and it wasn't as manoeuvrable as this Michigan, but it did look nice. It had that Harley-esque appeal, and it did look the part. But obviously engine on it was good, reliable, but very, very underpowered. And the other thing, obviously, well, it was very, very heavy. For a 125 bike, it was very, very heavy. But both good bikes, they both did the job, they both rode well, but for actual ease of just flicking one of these around, the Michigan, I find, is a far superior bike. But the Keyway Superlight obviously had the looks. But with the Michigan, obviously, you've got the option to get a set of throw over panniers, and get any panniers you want for these. Nice set of leather throw overs, and then obviously some people go for a screen in front as well. I just prefer a bare naked looking bike. But absolutely lovely, riding a treat. Back off that throttle a bit coming down the hill because I'm gaining speed. Nice steady 45 coming down the hill, 13 miles on the clock. And all good to go. So back to the garage we go now. Obligatory early morning cup of coffee and a cigarette. Breakfast, as I call it. And then obviously my bike is coming in later for a prep. Get it all cleaned up for my ride to go out with the guys from Rosper tomorrow. And obviously meet up with Simon GTR 1400. So we'll have the 2 GTRs out tomorrow. And hopefully, if all my batteries have charged up overnight, I'm going to be taking 5 cameras on the bike tomorrow. I'm going to overdo it a little bit. So obviously we're going to have the drift on the helmet, we're going to have the Insta out the front, and I've got my 2 drift cams. I've got 2 new drift cams. I went and bought a couple of Ghost X's, so we're going to have them one either side of the bike, and my little action cams pointing off the back. So we're going to kit it all up tomorrow with 5 extra cameras. So it should be quite interesting when it comes down to actually editing. For simple reason, using the Insta so we can get some views, obviously, of the road and the other riders. Braking on this is absolutely superb, as you would expect now that I've bedded the pads in. Stopping on a sixpence, job done. So if you are into cruiser style bike, the Lexmoto Michigans, then obviously check out the website, which is www.eclipsemotorcyclesmk.co.uk. Telephone numbers down the bottom as well, 01908 643 603. Have a look at the website, all the bikes are listed on there. If you're looking at Lexmotos though, lexmoto.co.uk. And obviously if you're in Milton Keynes or Buckinghamshire, all the surrounding areas, we're going to probably be your nearest dealer. Plenty and plenty of stock. I've got around about 20 bikes or so left now. We did have 36, sold a load, we're down to about 20, but we have a great selection of used bikes as well if you're doing Mod 2s. Don't forget as well, used 125s have got that Sinus Scrambler in, if you're into a Scrambler looking bike, or a cafe racer, come sort of off-roady type. It does look nice, looks very, very similar to the Valiant or the Vendetta, but very, very nice looking bike with that little side mounted exhaust. That is up for sale in our used bike selection. As always, thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Leave your comments down below. Let us know what you think of the new look Michigans. And of course, don't forget to ding the notifications bell. That will tell you when the next video is coming up. And I think we've uploaded about 4 or 5 this week, so we're absolutely knocking out these YouTube videos. But obviously these ones are ride test ones for the customer, so you can see his bike being ridden. But 16 miles in, happy days, all good. So whatever you're doing this weekend, guys, have a good one. Be well, ride safe, and as always from RB, it's a big goodbye from me.